An ancient courtyard sits at dawn, stone tiles cold with dew, while two monks kneel before their master. The air carries the hush of ritual and the distant cry of birds. One gong marks the beginning of something older than either trainee. One monk embodies a playful, unpredictable spirit. He moves like a monkey, laughing lightly as he shifts weight from toe to heel. The other moves with measured silence, precise as a needle, his gaze steady as he breathes. Between them sits tension braided with shared memory, training sessions spent together, laughter and shoving in evenings. The master watches, unreadable. The master's presence settles like a low cloud, calm and inevitable. He radiates something the trainees have always chased, balance between force and finesse. The monkey learned to use movement as misdirection, to tumble and distract, to let humor break an opponent's rhythm. The snake learned to conserve motion, to target joints and breath with surgical patience. As children, they chased one another through bamboo groves and practiced until stars blinked awake. Years of training compressed their differences into a single rivalry. Each believed his way was the truer path to mastery, each wanted proof that his heart matched his skill. The announcement of a successor cracks that old camaraderie into smaller pieces. The master reveals the 10 rings trial, a sequence of tests stacked to measure balance, speed, reflex, and intuition. The temple murmurs, the contestants bow. Within a night meditation, the monkey overhears rumors, whispers that the master favors the snake for his calm, precise approach. A hot flare of injustice rises in the monkey's chest. He vows to prove that spirit, emotion, and improvisation matter as much as control. He trains harder, leaping through the courtyard like a comet, practicing tricks and laughter that hide a sharpened resolve. Morning brings ring 1 and the first test, balance across a narrow ridge with swinging logs threatening to pitch candidates into cold water below. The monkey's style shines. His movements are unpredictable, his laughter a weapon against fear. He bounces across logs with acrobatic confidence, using momentum and surprise to avoid the swaying peril. His joy becomes advantage. Opponent's timing slips against his unorthodox rhythm. The snake watches, learning the rhythm of the wild, counting each beat with disciplined breath. He steps with a different economy, each footfall precise, an economy of motion that refuses excess. Ring 2 and 3 escalate the illusion, mirrors, false floors, and traps designed to distort perception. The monkey treats confusion as a playground. He breaks the spell of reflections with inverted leaps and shadow games, turning every hazard into a chance to improvise. Laughter peels like a sword, cutting through fear and making him unpredictable. The snake counters by narrowing his focus, cutting through distractions with a gaze that doesn't blink. His patience is a blade. He waits for openings, then slips through with surgical motion. By the end of the early rings, the crowd sees two methods: chaos that creates openings and stillness that demands them. Rings 4 through 6 flip the script into heat and edge. Fire jets lick the air in patterned bursts, and blades sweep with clinical inevitability. Here the snake's training into precision pays off. He slides past jets with barely a flick of fabric singed. He threads gaps between razor arcs with breath timed to heartbeats. The monkey, less elegant in this arena, adapts by turning risk into spectacle. He bounces over jets, uses momentum to clear blades, and relies on reflex more than calculation. Where the snake disables hazards with economy, the monkey disrupts them with unpredictable motion. Both pass, each narrowly, their differences becoming complementary rather than opposed. Danger grows in rings 7 through 9, designed to test not only skill but character. Collapsing bridges and corridors of hidden arrows demand trust, quick thinking, and the kind of reflex that comes from knowing a companion's moves. In one moment, a bridge gives way under the monkey's feet. He flails, arms windmilling. The snake is there, hand like an iron vine, grabbing the monkey and pulling him back. In another, the snake is struck blind by a dust trap, muscles tightening. Then the monkey, who had been flanking carelessly, covers him, pushing through with improvised maneuvers to clear a path. Pride softens. Old respect returns as they save each other from ruin. Between trials, they catch breaths on cold stones and realize the temple's design. These tests push them toward cooperation. The competition was never meant solely to declare a victor, it is a crucible to forge unity from duality. The monkey recognizes that his laughter can disarm more than foes, it can disarm anger within. The snake feels the warmth of spontaneity like sunlight on frost, unexpected but enlightening. The tension that once braided into resentment loosens into threads of mutual recognition. They approach the final courtyard with different strengths and a rekindled brotherhood baked into their steps. The final courtyard is a canvas of silence. The master sits at its center like an old stone, unmoving. The last rule is simple and devastating. Mastery requires defeating your rival without hatred. The meaning is clear. To become whole, one must face the other with compassion. The two stand, and the duel unfolds like a piece of music that alternates between rapid percussion and cool strings. The monkey vaults, spins, and flips from pillars. The snake slices and slides, targeting pressure points and breathing with cold clarity. Their movements interlock into a choreography where agility meets precision, where improvisation coaxes out micro-openings and discipline exploits them. As the battle reaches its peak, the snake finds an opening and secures a lock that could end everything. The monkey is trapped, motionless and exposed. The snake's hands hover with lethal intent, practiced to finish. But the monkey recalls mornings of shared rice, nights of jokes in fog lamplight, the way the snake once steadied him after a tumble. In that split second, the monkey makes a choice. He relaxes his muscles, empties his heart, and refuses to strike. He halts his own consequence with a trembling breath, victory within reach, yet the instant's meaning shifting to something larger. The snake, confronted with a halted hand and a face wet with unexpected tears, does the last thing the duel needed: he lets go. Perhaps he recalls the times the monkey's grin saved him from rigid despair, or he senses the master's true lesson in the air: mastery is measured as much by mercy as by technique. The snake stands, the lock broken, and bows, not in defeat born of shame, but in acknowledgement of another path. It is a mutual offering, the monkey with his choice to spare, the snake with his choice to accept. In that exchange, the courtyard seems to breathe. Stone and silence feel the shift. For a moment, the master smiles, a small curl as though a secret had been unlocked, and then the figure dissolves like mist. Not a physical collapse but a revelation: the master was never a function of external decree. He was a lens through which they examined themselves. The voice that had loomed was the voice inside each of them, the internalized demand that pretended to hand down judgment. The grounds, the rings, even the rules, fold into a teaching. The competition wasn't meant to crown one and crush the other. It was meant to reveal that spirit and control are parts of a whole. They were never truly separate. Light changes. The courtyard melts away and each monk finds himself back in his meditation hall, side by side, bodies folded, breaths aligned. No proclamation, no trophy, only an intimate awareness of what the trial accomplished. They exchange a glance, the kind that carries 1,000 small acknowledgments. There is no grand speech. Instead, they rise and alone in together, they begin to move. First a monkey form, then a snake form, each respecting the other's origin. Their movements weave like threads into a single cloth. Laughter becomes precision, precision becomes warmth. Sunrise floods the temple, gold streaming through latticework and turning dust motes into stars. The two perform a synchronized sequence that would once have seemed impossible. The monkey's improvisation softened by the snake's economy, the snake's patience warmed by the monkey's risk-taking. Motion becomes meditation. The lesson is quiet and terrible in its simplicity. Enlightenment is not a prize, it is a relationship. Victory is not the fall of a rival but the rise of understanding. Where there had been rivalry, there is now craft shared and a path forward that includes both humor and focus. As the final frames of this scene hold, remember the image of two silhouettes against a rising sun, moving together, one playful and wild, one precise and serene. The temple stands behind them, stones warmed by dawn, no longer a stage for separation but a home for harmony. The lesson lingers. Strength without compassion is brittle, and compassion without discipline is adrift. True mastery, whether of art, craft, or self, asks for a synthesis. The 10 rings were never merely obstacles. They were mirrors revealing what each needed to become whole. End with the echo of a gong that is not triumph but recognition. The brothers continue their practice, side by side, their footsteps synchronized on stone paths. In that steady rhythm, the story finds its resolution. The monk who once sought to prove himself alone discovers that ascent is shared. The one who prized control learns that release can be a form of power. Together they embody a lesson older than any master: unity surpasses victory.